All right, mentors, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed kickoff, meeting the kids on your team, and you had a good time competing against each other. Well, now time to shift gears and get into the classroom. So now you guys are going to shift gears and get into your classrooms and start having that more intimate experience with the youth on your team. All right, but how we want to start everything is by creating some rules. So what you're going to do today is agree on a set of rules or guidelines that will determine how your team will function for the remainder of the year. So again, you're really at the end of the day just creating some ground rules, all right? So think about that. You're creating some ground rules, and it's really important. If you remember active training, it's about setting the ground rules and setting the tone for the way your team will cooperate for the rest of the year. So keep that in mind, that you want to create that collaborative process between you and the youth on your team, and a united understanding. And let me repeat that, a united understanding, because that's important for the foundation of your team. So that united understanding will really guarantee the future success of your team. And that's really what we're doing as we're creating these rules. All right? So how do we want to get things started? Well, of course, you're starting off with what's good with you, and then you're moving into your question of the day. So your question of your day is, if you could make one rule for everyone in your school to follow, what rule would you make and why? All right, so if you can make one rule for everyone in your school to follow, what rule would you make and why? All right, so I'm sure you'll have some great conversation. I'm sure the kids will come up with a bunch of rules. And don't forget the rule of thumb, ask 2 follow-up questions. I put my rule was cookie day every day, because I like chocolate chip cookies. But anyway, we'll now move on to your Energizer. Not optional for today, but it's a great setup to get the kids to start thinking about, you know, their mindset when they're on a team. Okay, so it's a great way to get the kids to think about a mindset when they're working on the team. So to get things started, you're going to read out a little introduction that we have scripted for you, and the introduction is, because we're in TeamWorks, we'll be engaging in weekly discussions and interactive activities. We need to agree as a team on some ground rules. So as mentors, we want you guys to know that we're leaving it up to you to decide how we will cooperate and function as a team. But before we dive into creating our rules, think about this. How do you want to be treated, and what rules should we put in place to make sure that everyone, including us mentors, are having a great and positive experience? So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, and let's create our team rules. So again, we have that all scripted for you, and you'll read that out loud before you start breaking them up. Next, you'll break them up into pairs. So again, pairs, the buddy system, so have everybody break up in pairs. And then you'll distribute one piece of paper and a pencil to everyone on the team. One piece of paper and a pencil to everyone on the team. Then you'll instruct your students to write the word attitude. Write the word attitude going down the left margin of the page. Again, write the word attitude going down the left margin of the page. So let's say I did that. I write my word attitude down the left margin of the page, and it would pretty simply look like this. So make sure they're leaving room. Next, you're going to ask the students to write the position in the alphabet. So next to the letters, you're going to write what position and where in the alphabet does that letter sit. All right, so for example, A would be 1, right? B would be 2, C would be 3, D would be A, B, C, D, 4, etc. So they write their position in the alphabet. So see, I have the word attitude, and A is 1, T is 20, etc. All right? So, that's funny that I forgot where D is, or what number D is. Then you'll ask them to add it up, all right? So they'll add it up. So of course, A was 1, the 2 T's are 20, I was 9, T was 20, U was 21, because U comes after T, D was 4, E was 5. So when they add it all up, they should come up with 100. And then you're going to tell your kids that your answer should be 100, proving that attitude has 100% to do with everything that you do. And wouldn't you say that's true, right? If we have a great positive attitude, we can muscle through anything, and we can make every experience really exciting and fun. And that's how you pretty much facilitate what's your problem. So again, that 100% attitude has everything to do with everything that you do. Now we're going to move into Project Cooperate. Again, don't forget about that collaborative process and that united understanding. But now you're really going to get into the nitty-gritty. You're going to start creating rules. So you're going to break your group into 3 subgroups. Break them up into 3 subgroups, all right? Pretty simple. Then you're going to distribute 1 index card and 1 pencil per group. 1 index card and 1 pencil per group. Then you're going to instruct the students to write 5 rules. So again, hopefully they remembered that little intro you made about creating rules and how you're empowering them to create their rules and how they want to be treated and respected to ensure a positive experience. So they'll write 5 rules, all right? After they've written their 5 rules, you'll ask them to pass it to the right. Now the students in the next group are going to put a star, so they're kind of going to rate or score their favorite rules. So they're going to pick their 3 favorite, all right? So to get things going in your groups, everybody writes 5 rules. When you pass it to the right, everybody's putting a star next to their top 3 favorite rules, all right? Their 3 favorite rules. And you're just going to create this process. You're going to keep going around in this process until the card gets back to the original group, all right? So we'll keep passing it to the right. Everybody will mark stars. There can be multiple stars on one rule, so just know that maybe everybody in the team loved be respectful at all times, so there might be 4 stars there, all right? So it's okay. There can be multiple stars on a rule. So again, you'll keep passing to the right, and then it gets back to its original owner. Then you're going to have a piece of butcher paper up with a happy face and an undecided face. So happy face and undecided face, so you might want to preset your butcher paper. And then you're going to ask your groups. You're going to go group by group and say, okay, what were the top 3 rules? You know, what were the top 3 rules? Which ones had the most stars? And they'll read them out loud. And so let's say we can never be late. We always have to be on time. And then you know, exercise a little democracy and you'll just ask the group, do we agree with that? And if everybody says, yes, we agree with that, you would write that in the good column, in the happy face column. Now let's say there's a rule like, put your cell phones away. And let's say, okay, you guys, do you think we should all put our cell phones away? And half the group is like, and the other group is, yeah, we should. And if you can't get a united or a consensus on it, then you would put it in your undecided column. So cell phones away. So that would go in your undecided column, all right? So you just go group by group. You'll have them read their rules out loud. The ones that everybody agrees on, they go in the good column. The ones that everybody's on the fence or just don't like, period, would go in your undecided column. All right, so that's pretty simple. Next, you're going to ask your students to come up one at a time. So you'll ask your students to come up one at a time, and you're going to have scenarios. You have about 15 scenarios. So students will come up and they'll pull a scenario, all right? They'll come up and they'll pull a scenario. You'll have them take a seat, and then you'll have them come up one at a time and have them read their scenario out loud to the group. Now, after they've read it, they've got to attach it next to the rules. So let's say you have about 10 rules here, and then they would tape it next to the rule that applies. That would help, you know, make sure that that doesn't happen, or that, you know, you have that collaborative team environment, that respectful environment, etc. Okay? Now, if you don't have a rule for that scenario, then you're going to have to go back to the group and ask them to help come up with the rule to put in your good column. However, maybe you have a rule that's parked here in your undecided column that you want to shift over and put it in your good column. All right? So here's an example of a scenario. Samantha got sent to the dean's office early in the school day and came to TeamWorks with a bad attitude. She's being short and disrespectful to everyone on the team. So I might come up here and be like, oh, so this one really applies to be respectful at all times. So I would tape it next to that rule right there. All right? So again, they come up, read their scenario, find a rule, tape it. If you have a rule parked in the undecided column that would match that scenario, then you would switch it over here, and let's say you'd put cell phones away in that column. All right? And that's pretty much how you facilitate that. Have them read it out, match it. If there isn't one, come up with one, or move it over from the undecided column. Once you're done, and I forgot to mention this, so don't forget, have someone be your little stenographer writing the rules, the good rules, as you move along. And then when you're done and you've created all your rules and they've all been voted on, then you'll have your students sign a little contract. And there's a space for everyone to sign and date. And then you will keep that in your team folder. All right? And that's pretty much how you're creating the rules instead of the ground rules, and that united understanding, I keep saying, because it will be the foundation of your team's success. And as you know, I always like to close with a great little quote. So think about this quote while you're creating your rules with your kids. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I will learn. So don't forget to engage your kids. It's Will signing out.